Y'all know what it is. It's the usual suspect 650-50 draw. Buy your tickets now for your chance at winning half the pot. Cash App, $ usual 50-50. Tickets are on sale for $10 for one, $20 for 3 tickets, and $50 for 10 tickets. Put your desired amount, name or alias, as well as your email address, and your tickets will be sent. We announce the winning ticket numbers every other Friday on Supreme Beats Boxing Talk Bullshitting on the Beltway, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Remaining proceeds will go directly to the LDBC meet and greet in Las Vegas. Shout out to the LDBC, and remember,
it's a usual suspect day.
Y'all know what it is. It's the Find the Boxer game. Purchase a box for a chance at winning $500. One of 54 boxes has a missing boxer inside. Purchase your box or boxes by Cash Apping $ usual 50-50. Include your box number, name, and email address. Your box number will be confirmed and sent directly to your email. Each box is $20 with a 1 in 54 chance of winning. Remaining proceeds will go directly to the LDBC meet and greet in Las Vegas. Shout out to the LDBC, and remember,
it's a usual suspect day.
Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormybman for this Monday, June 2nd, 2025. This is number 122 in the series of Nerds, and this one we are covering the phenomena that was Saturday Night Fever from 1977, a film that made John Travolta an international star, and a film that helped usher in the disco era and heightened by musical soundtracks to go along with films. This movie was definitely a phenomenon when movie-going audiences needed something a little bit different from actions, westerns, comedies. This brought something a little bit different, produced and distributed by Paramount Pictures. This was in a heyday of Paramount when they were just producing different types of fare that made American audiences rush to the theaters. The film had a release date of December 16th, 1977, and it was directed by John Badham with a screenplay by Norman Wexler. We'll get into what the plot of the film was, but we're also going to talk about the impact that this film had on American culture. For many years thereafter, when this film was released, there were people who would find themselves trying to emulate the dance moves of John Travolta from this film, and famous white three-piece suit that he wore in here. And film critic Gene Siskel spent thousands of dollars purchasing the suit that John Travolta wore in this film. He was such a fanatic, stricken with night fever from this film. Siskel was a proud person to let the world know that I own the suit, which was kind of like, I guess, the beginning of geekdom with him. I don't know, but it was really wild. So we'll get into talking about some of these things as I bring in my partner in crime. We got Drew Titan in the building with me this evening. What's going on with you, man? How you feeling?
Nostalgia, brother. And that's why we do this show, man. Salute to you, man. Thank you for having me. Bruh. I was a kid when this came out. But let me tell you, I grew up, I was born in Harlem, raised in the Bronx. And you see this kid, you see this young John Travolta right here? A lot of my Italian friends that I went to school with as a child, they had older brothers, older cousins, maybe it'd be their dad. You see that look right there? That was the look. That's it, that right there. And disco was the thing. And the Italians, everybody had their own swag in the disco. Later, we started calling it the club, but everybody had their own swag. And I got to tell you, they were cool. They were cool. Everyone dressed alike, you know, the bell bottoms, the platform shoes, and John Travolta in this role made the disco scene. He brought it to Hollywood. This was the film that shined a spotlight on that genre. Now, there was different things going on, you know, the drugs, the, you know, the Studio 54 type of thing. That's a whole other show. But I was growing up in the tail end of this genre, the tail end of it. And I was young, of course, but it was cool to watch. It was cool to watch. Later on, I started breakdancing on cardboards, but that was the genre after this. But this was cool to watch. I wasn't old enough to participate. My older brother, a little something. Then I had older cousins that used to go to the disco. But when this came out, a lot of the Italian men were walking around with that hairstyle, wearing a lot of white and platform shoes, and they drove. Stormy, you remember what was the Italian car?
Dude, let me think. It was a couple of them, but if I remember correctly, was it a Mercury Grand Marquis or something like that?
That's one. But there was out here, there was a main one that they all drove. The Trans Am.
Okay, yeah.
They all drove that. Boom, boom, and it was cool. It was cool to watch. I was like, man, they drove a Trans Am. Whether you was like this or the guys that listened to heavy metal, that was the official white boy car. Yeah, the Trans Am was cool.
The eagle on the hood.
That's right, the eagle on the hood. There's a bunch of those I saw, man.
The car that what was my man name? Burt Reynolds drove in Smokey and the Bandit.
Smokey and the Bandit, yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, man. That was quite an era too. And what was so cool about this film was everybody in America kind of knew John Travolta, but we knew him from being Vinnie Barbarino on Welcome Back, Kotter. And the character that he played, Vinnie Barbarino, was like a real numbskull, slow dude in the TV series, because they were all high schoolers. He and Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, these guys were on that show. And Barbarino was such a numbskull. Remember, he used to always, like when Mr. Carter, the teacher, would be talking to him, he'll say, what? Where? Who? He was just stupid,
A numbskull. Yeah.
He was a numbskull. And we remembered him from that show, right? And so when he went into the movies, because this was his first big film, and he left Welcome Back, Kotter after making this movie because he had taken off with stardom with this film. So when we saw him in this movie with that ethnic haircut, because he didn't look like that on Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, he had long
mullet, remember?
Yeah, the mullet, yeah.
Wearing the blue jean jacket and t-shirts and tight jeans and stuff.
Yes.
So, playing a teenager. And so when he got to this film, and he was decked out in the silk shirts and had his little gold chain on and, his platform shoes and stuff. One of the great memories is about how the film opened. Do you remember him walking down the streets of New York and the music's playing?
Shout out to the Bee Gees.
By the Bee Gees. And he's doing they call it the strut.
The strut,
he's doing his strut going down New York. And he's yelling at people yelling at him like he know them, they know him. He in the way of traffic. Hey, get out the way. And he's like, oh, screw you. And he's walking down the street. And then he stops and get him a slice of the pizza. He get him a slice. And that whole thing was so New York, man.
Yes.
It's like not even having been there myself or whatever, you could just absorb the vibe of the environment. And they captured all of that very well. And he seemed like he was straight out of. Now, where was he supposed to be? Do you know what part of New York?
I believe he was from Brooklyn.
I wanted to say that, but I don't want to misspeak because I thought it was Brooklyn myself. And he was he idolized Al Pacino.
Yes.
In that film, because he had pictures of Serpico on his wall in his bedroom and stuff, back then. And listen, guys, this is a keynote about what we're talking about. And when we talk about nerds, He had this picture of Al Pacino on his wall in his bedroom. And some girl had told him, "You kind of look like Al Pacino." And he was like, "Yeah," he was in the mirror and stuff, trying to, But what I wanted to say, like for me personally, when I was young, because what was I, about 12 or so, 13, when this film came out, and we used to collect posters of who we liked back then. I had a poster of Bruce Lee from Enter the Dragon holding the nunchucks in the underground scene like this. He's holding that poster like this. And then I had this poster of John Travolta from Saturday Night Fever with him and that lady there. And but the script was under his feet at the bottom, because it was an authentic 22 by whatever, 22 by 30 something picture poster, the authentic ones that you see when you go to the theaters that be in the little boxes and stuff. I had the poster of Bruce Lee and I had the poster of John Travolta from this movie on my bedroom wall back then.
I had a poster of Isaac Hayes and I hated it because he was just sitting there with shades on. He looked scary. I hated that damn thing.
And in fact, let me that's a great idea for a future episode where we could talk about posters that were a part of culture, pop culture.
Posters.
Oh,
write this down, Stormy. The White Shadow.
Yeah.
Gotta talk about that. And that's especially important since you're from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
The White Shadow.
Yeah, so yeah, but I really took to this film. I remember seeing it in the theaters because we used to go to the movies regular back then. And the music really drove the film. And it was, again, out of that disco era. So not only was the music familiar, because a lot of the songs that played in the film were already playing, on our radios and everything, but even more so after the movie came out. And songs like Do the Hustle, remember that? Because they used to have disco songs that would play in the discos, but usually centered around the name of a dance, and that was a part of it too. And this film captured all of that, man. It was so amazing. There's even a scene in here where John Travolta and his buddies, they've been out partying and everything, and they hit up White Castle. You remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know how New York that is, man.
Dude, they was arguing at 2 o'clock in the morning at White Castle, man.
Castle.
I knew that. It's like, because that was a staple here, back during that time. And the thing about White Castle, I don't know what it's like for you in New York, but like back in that day when a White Castle, they though it was a franchise, they weren't all over the place. It was like you might have to drive miles to get to a White Castle. So they were always busy. It wasn't like McDonald's. And that was an experience. So to see that in the movie, it's like, oh, they have White Castle. We were actually sitting in the audience talking about that and pointing it out and stuff like that. But John Travolta playing a character by the name of Tony Manero, and he was a guy who was a young Italian-American man who spent his weekends dancing and drinking at a local disco while dealing with social tensions and disillusionment in his working-class ethnic neighborhood in Brooklyn. The story is based on a book, an article rather, Tribal Rights of the New York Saturday Night, a mostly fictional 1976 New York article by music writer Nick Kahn. This film was produced, and I couldn't wait to get to this part to tell you about it, Drew. on a budget of $3.5 million. That's how much money it took to make this film back in the day. But box office receipts saw a return. You are not going to believe this. It knocked me out when I saw it. Box office receipt returns were $237.1 million.
From what to date, or
no, that's what it brought in. It was made for a budget of $3.5 million. The global box office brought in $237.1 million. That has to be one of the most profitable films of all time.
Damn,
isn't that amazing?
That's crazy. I didn't know it. Jeez, that's what made him a box office star right there.
I'm telling you. And you had people all over the world, like I said, that white suit and everything that he was just going in. Dude, this movie produced a craze that was unbelievable.
Oh, Stormy, write this down. Signature outfits. TV in Hollywood. Signature outfits.
Yeah.
His white suit is one of them. My gosh.
Yeah, man. Can you imagine those profits?
Lord. I hope
that's amazing, man. When I saw that, when I looked it up, I was like, holy crap. You know,
3.5 million get a return of 200 what?
37.
Oh my gosh.
They made that and many times over. That was just, can you believe that? It's like,
that's crazy. That's slot machine. Put in 50 cents and you win 100K. It's like, oh man, what?
Yeah.
My goodness. Yeah, this was something. This was definitely something, man. But I remember being a kid, and you can tell when a movie sets the tone for a genre. And a lot of the Italian men I saw around the Bronx, they look like that. They look like that, man. It was. I guess it was a fun time, you know. Let me talk about the dancing, because this, if you wasn't into it, but this set part the disco dance craze. And I'm glad Acondo said that. The soundtrack, I had it. Well, my mama had it.
Yeah.
You remember it was him pointing the finger? It was the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
It was the Bee Gees. And I remember the album. It was you could open up the album. It was clips from the movie inside the album cover. And she had that with the Superfly soundtrack too.
Yeah.
The Bee Gees, man. Goodness. What y'all know about the Bee Gees? And you can tell by the way I walk, my pants are tight. I can't hardly walk. Yeah, that was so New York. In the intro when he was walking, that was so New York.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up some information about the soundtrack. The soundtrack for Saturday Night Fever was released in November, just a month before the film, by RSO Records. And prior to the release of Thriller by Michael Jackson, Saturday Night Fever was the best-selling album in music history. It still ranks amongst the best-selling soundtrack albums worldwide, with sales figures over 40 million copies. In the United States, the album was certified 16 times platinum for shipments of at least 16 million units. The album stayed atop the charts for 24 straight weeks from January to July 78. and stayed on Billboard's album charts for 120 weeks until March 1980. 3 singles from the album contributed by the Bee Gees: How Deep Is Your Love,
Yes.
Staying Alive, and Night Fever,
Night Fever.
along with Yvonne Elliman's If I Can't Have You, all reached #1 in the US. In the UK, the album spent 18 consecutive weeks at #1. The album epitomized the disco phenomenon on both sides of the Atlantic and was an international sensation. The album was added to the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress in 2012 for being culturally, historically, and/or aesthetically significant.
Wow.
Those type of accolades, people, are the ultimate achievement. The ultimate, which means that you actually contributed something for the world, humanitarianism, or whatever, how you like to say it. But that's an amazing feat. Amazing.
More Than a Woman was my joint, man. More than a
More
woman.
Than a Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Night Fever, Night Fever.
And that
Show it.
you should be dancing. Yeah. Remember that?
Oh, wait a minute.
When he did his little solo dance there,
Yeah,
man,
what?
out with that, it's like, tell me that brother wasn't throwing down, Drew.
He killed it, man.
He killed it.
He
And
killed
I
it.
forget the gentleman who was his dance choreographer for the film, but he later had a show called Dance Fever. Remember?
Yes.
It was,
Oh, Stormy.
Danny Terrio or something like that.
Yes, dancing. Yo, it's on YouTube. Do you see some of the shows? If y'all don't remember, this movie spawned Dance Fever.
Yeah.
There was a lot of music shows that were on during the disco era. Remember Solid Gold?
Yeah, Solid Gold. All those kind of shows like that came from Saturday Night Fever's
Matter of
success.
fact,
And you had people trying to sign up to go learn how to disco. It's like,
yes.
Yeah, man.
Sidebar, in that show, The Boys, one of the heroes, he was frozen, but he was in the 80s. He came from the 80s, and he was on an episode of Solid Gold. You know, they would have a celebrity, sing a song on there real quick. And I'm like, man, I'm old because cats don't even know what the hell they're looking at right here. You don't remember Solid Gold was a dance show. What was that? American Bandstand, Solid Gold, Soul Train was around back then. Yep. And but Solid Gold and Dance Fever were the disco shows, right? And man, I used to watch that. I forgot what time it came on out here. But me and my aunts, I was forced to watch that because I ain't control no damn TV. You know what I mean? But it was great, man.
Man, Drew, let
It
me
was
tell you
great.
something. This particular image here on the screen is from a moment where in the film, Tony Manero, played by John Travolta, he's at the club, he's at the disco, and everybody's out there doing their little thing or whatever. And one of the guys was like, yo, Tony, we need you out here, man. They was trying to get him to go out there, but he was trying to chill and talk to some girls and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, no, man. They was like, come on, man. He's like, I got some money on you, man. It's like, he got out there on the dance floor. He's like, all right. So he wanted to go out there and show the girls he had some moves, right? Man, that brother got out there on that store and on that floor, and that music started playing, and he just went away in his own zone. All the moves he did, and that was what was great about John Travolta at the time, because for whatever reason, and it later played parts in his career in the thereafter, but he had rhythm and he could move, and man, he was doing those moves. And he was like out there on the floor, and everybody was like clapping, and then the floor opened up for him. Remember? Because he got out there and he started doing his solo moves and everything. And what I used to like when I watched the movie was when he did the move where he crossed his arms like this and got down on his knees and popped back up and got down and popped back up. I used to try to do that. I couldn't get it like him. But man, this guy was really killing it, man. He was really
talented,
doing his thing in this film. It was amazing to watch.
So talented.
Many years later, when you guys saw Pulp Fiction and him and Uma Thurman were doing their little dance routine in there, that whole thing was because of Saturday Night Fever, because people had begged for John Travolta to dance on film again.
Yep.
That's what that was. They was like, you know, so of course Tarantino, he wrote a little part in there for his character in Pulp Fiction to have a dance number. But John Travolta, that was something he could do. He could dance.
Yep. He killed it, man. Damn, you remember the Jive Talking? Wasn't that on that album? Jive Talking.
I think so. Yeah. Let me take a look and see the songs that
How Deep Is Your Love, Staying Alive, of course, Night Fever, More
Man
Than
Hide the Skyline,
I think Kool and the Gang,
Woman, Boogie Shoes.
Kool and the Gang had a track on there, didn't they? I want to say they did.
You know, all of the songs that are in the film are not necessarily on the soundtrack, and they do that a lot.
But my mom's played this album to death, so I want to say Kool and the Gang was on there, and I think Casey, of course, Casey and the Sunshine Band is on there.
I don't see it on here because I'm looking at the singles that were on the album from the film, and I don't see that.
They were on there. It's a song called was it Open Sesame? Open Sesame?
Let me see if I can. Hold on.
Open something. It was. I want to say it was on that album.
They got Calypso Breakdown, Man Hide the Skyline, More Than a Woman, Fifth of Beethoven, If I Can't Have You, More Than a Woman, by the Bee Gees, More Than a Woman by the Tavares, How Deep Is Your Love, and Staying Alive. Now, that's side one. Side two has Night on Disco Mountain, Open Sesame, Jive Talking. There you go.
All right, there you go. So okay, yeah.
You should be dancing. And also side four. I'm sorry. Side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Side four had Salvation, KG, and Disco Inferno.
Disco Inferno.
Man.
Fun times, man. A lot of this stuff, like I remember, I ain't see the movie till later, but I remember the soundtrack because my mom played that to death, man. Like I have songs in my head that, you know, people are like, how do you know that song? Like I grew up listening to it every weekend when I cleaned the house. Yes.
Now this is where you were talking about they said the personnel on the albums were, of course, the Bee Gees, Yvonne Elliman, Walter Murphy, the Tavares, Ralph McDonald, Kool and the Gang, Casey and the Sunshine Band, MSSB, and the Tramps. So you heard, you know, bits of their music throughout, you know, sprinkled throughout the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was so much music in here. That's why the film really drove hard. You know, it was like, because they had a little bit of something. They even had some what's his name? Boss Skaggs in there, man.
Boss Skaggs.
Yep. So yeah, this was, man, like I don't think it was an overstatement to say that this was a phenomenon, this film. And just an amazing thing. I want to go read a little bit of the plot of how it breaks it down. It says Tony Manero is an Italian American from Bay Ridge, the neighborhood of Brooklyn,
Bay Ridge, Brooklyn.
living in his family's house and working in a hardware store. He escapes his day-to-day life by dancing at 2001 Odyssey. Yeah, that's the name of the disco. The discotheque where he receives the admiration he craves as the king of the dance floor. Tony and his friends, Joey, Double J, Gus, and Bobby C, spend their nights at the disco, trying to have sex with women in Bobby's car, climbing on the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. Neighborhood girl Annette is infatuated with Tony, much to his annoyance, and he agrees to be her partner in an upcoming dance contest. Annette's happiness is short-lived when Tony is mesmerized by a better dancer, Stephanie Mangano, who rejects Tony's advances but eventually agrees to be his new partner in the competition. Tony is pleased to no longer be the black sheep of the family when his older brother Frank Jr., the pride of their parents and their grandmother, quits the Catholic priesthood. Yeah, I remember that. Frank Jr. admits that he only became a priest to make their parents happy, and later advises Bobby, who is under pressure to marry his pregnant girlfriend, that the Pope is unlikely to grant him dispensation for an abortion. Leaving to start a new life, Frank encourages Tony to do what makes him happy. Gus is beaten up and hospitalized, telling his friends that his attackers were the Barracudas, a Puerto Rican gang.
Yep.
Annette grows more and more desperate for Tony's attention, as does Bobby, who tries to ask him for guidance. Tony helps Stephanie move to Manhattan and comforts her after discovering her past relationship with an older married colleague. Tony and his friends take revenge on the Barracudas, crashing Bobby's car into their hangout and starting a brawl, but are angry to learn that Gus may have identified the wrong gang.
Damn.
And you know that's gonna lead to some mess, right?
I forgot about that. Damn.
Yeah, it says, after much practice, Tony and Stephanie dance at the competition, sharing a kiss at the end of their performance. They win first prize, but Tony believes that a Puerto Rican couple performed better, and the judge's decision was racially biased, and he gives the couple his trophy and award money. Outside in Bobby's car, Tony tries to force himself on Stephanie, who declares that she was only using him to win before fighting him off and running away. Tony's friends arrive with Annette, who has agreed to have sex with everyone.
Damn.
Tony tries to lead her away, but is subdued by Double J and Joey, and they all drive to the bridge. Yeah. Joey rapes Annette in the back seat, followed by Double J, while Tony and Bobby appear uncomfortable. They arrive to a point on the bridge and climb out. The others begin their usual cable climbing antics on the bridge, and an erratic Bobby behaves even more recklessly than his friends, and Tony tries to talk him down. But Bobby's strong sense of despair and Tony's broken promise to call him earlier all lead to a deletion tirade before Bobby falls to his demise. After the police arrive, a disgusted and disillusioned Tony leaves Double J, Joey, and Annette behind, riding the graffiti-riddled subway into Manhattan. By morning, he appears at Stephanie's apartment and apologizes for his behavior, planning to relocate to Manhattan to start a new life. Stephanie forgives Tony, admitting that she danced with him because he gave her respect and moral support, and they salvage their relationship, agreeing to be friends. Yeah, this movie was something else, man. It was one of a kind for its time. You know, it was a little bit of American Graffiti and Lords of Flatbush and all of that kind of stuff like rolled into one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a typical movie that keeps showing edge. It has high points and the story within the story.
Mm-hmm.
And what I appreciate is when you see people doing this on the floor, you don't know what kind of life they're having when they're off the floor. And Tony was going through a growing pain.
Right.
You know, he wasn't dealing with homelessness or his family wasn't broke, but he was trying to find himself. He had a problem identifying who he was as a man, identifying what's expected from him from women, and he was trying to find his own way. So that's pretty much what the movie was about. It's really a good film. It's really a good film.
And domestically, they show like the household that he come up in, where the father was like, you know, he was a blue collar man and everything, but he ran the house like with an iron rule. You know, that's why his older brother wanted to be a priest or whatever initially, to try to please dad and mom or whatever. But Tony was a little more like easygoing and whatnot. And you remember when they were sitting down having dinner, and dad was like talking stuff to him, and then he was physical. He would hit the boys upside their heads and stuff, you know. And when he hit Tony up, he was like, "Man, just wash the hair," because he like spent a lot of time in the mirror, you know, combing his hair and everything. That haircut he had cost money, you know, and he would tell his dad to leave his hair alone. But they get on him because he'd be in the bathroom for like long, like a girl or something, but he's in there trying to make his hair look good and everything. So yeah, man, this was like, you know, definitely a film that had elements that were familiar, you know, and you identify with what you were seeing, you know, on the screen.
Yeah, a lot of my friends, you know, what you just mentioned with the slap upside the head, they identify with that. They're like, "Hey, man, my uncle, oh my God." I'm like, damn.
It's and then like, you could be sitting, you could get hauled off and get hit for reasons you don't even know what you got hit for, right? It's like you be sitting there eating and everything. It's like, oh, what you do that for? Like,
didn't do
I
anything.
knew you was gonna mess up later on.
Yeah, that's whatever you're gonna get into later on. You're like, come on, didn't do anything. Wild work, man. Wild work. Yeah, Shogun, there was a sequel, wasn't it?
Yeah, Staying Alive.
Yeah.
And that was produced, you know, with Sylvester Stallone's involvement, where he tried to turn Tony into Rambo or Rocky and Rambo. You know, it's like, come on, man, Stallone. Hey, he was really feeling himself back then. Stallone, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Because John Travolta, he wanted to make a sequel to the film, but he just didn't know which way to kind of take that character or whatever. But Stallone even influenced him working out for the film. Because do you remember John Travolta being real buff for this movie?
He was buff for that film, yeah. He was.
Never looked like that again, but he just for that movie.
Did we cover the Rocky franchise?
Not the franchise, no.
Yeah, we need to do that. And that might take about 2 shows.
Yeah, it's definitely would take a couple of shows. But yeah, you know, one of the things about doing this show is it's great to be able to reflect, especially if you have knowledge of it, you know, like you said, you were a little bit younger, but you remember certain elements of that, and it was just a part of what we did, man. And it's like the spawning of those shows like Solid Gold and Dance Fever, and there was a couple more.
There might be some that escapes me, but Solid Gold and Dance Fever stick out to me. Like, what network did Dance Fever come on at? I want to say it was out here. It might have been Channel 11, which it's now WPIX. Solid Gold, I think it probably was Solid Gold NBC or ABC. I don't remember.
Something.
Yes, I don't remember. But I remember, and I want to play the intros to these damn things, but YouTube are some D-bags about that stuff, man. Y'all don't remember? Who in the chat remembers Solid Gold? And Dance Fever. And it'd be 3 teams, male and female, and they would dance off. It was a half-hour show. Or was it an hour? I forgot. And they would dance off, and the winner would get a prize. That was inspired by this film. It was inspired by this film. And the judges were well, they were celebrities. The judges were celebrities. It's like when you watch The Love Boat, they had those celebrities. Y'all might not recognize them at the time, but you know, if you were popular back then, yeah, you was a celebrity judge. And those, let me tell you, man, those teams, well rehearsed, and they would kill it.
Yeah.
They would kill it, man. It was, I remember Dance Fever. There's a bunch of episodes right here on YouTube, man. Sometimes the judges would come out, and guest judge is so-and-so. He come out dancing. I'm like, oh, man, look at that.
Yeah. There were films that did just kind of tweak what was happening. Like you heard me mention a moment ago, American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And that was a Ron Howard film, set in a different era. Definitely, what was it, like the 50s, I think. I don't know that I want to do a show on that movie, but we can make it a part of something else that we do, where we could talk about films that impacted American culture.
Right.
That would be great, because I'd take a film like that and a couple of other titles that maybe like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and those kind of films like that. So maybe we could do a show like that. I'll write that down.
I'm trying to figure out, should we put in Fast Time Richmond High? Should we put in high school films? How many of them do you think they are? Films when the characters were in high school. Cooley High. That was a high school film, basically. A Fast Time at Richmond High. 3 O'Clock High. That's a high school film. You know, and all of those films send a message, because that's a very important part of a young adult's life. When you're in high school, that's the era where you pick the genre of music that you love the most. You understand? Your first kiss, your first date, you know, Bionic Princess do Porky's. Here's my thing about Porky's. And you know what? We can do this. We can do this show, Stormy. We didn't know. You know, you're a little older than me, but we came up in grape culture. You know what I'm talking about? You ever watch Porky's?
Mm-hmm.
You go back and look at it now, it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. Like, yo, what the, what, this was funny?
That's the way, I like it.
Last American Virgin. Holy cow. And all of those things, we laugh at, you know what I'm saying? We laughed at that. I was like, oh my God. And what about that scene in Revenge of the Nerds where he wore the Darth Vader mask and slept with his girlfriend? Oh, that you're that nerd, but you were good. Whoa, what? It's crazy, and we did. It was normalized in the '80s. See what I'm saying? That crap was uncomfortable, man. When I went back and looked at it, I was like, yo, this is kind of bugged out. But Porky's was way over the top, way over the top.
I got a name for you, and you give me the movie. Jennifer Beals.
Jennifer Beals. White woman. Was she in was that the character from
She black.
Wait a minute.
She looked white. She was in Devil in a Blue Dress with Denzel and Don Cheadle. Flashdance, bro.
Flash Dance. Bro.
The film that made Mariah Carey song "What a Feeling" the biggest song in America.
Flash Dance. That
A
infamous.
lot of people didn't even know Irene Cara made that song.
That infamous scene when she was on the chair and put the water, and the water came and splashed her. I heard strippers around the country was doing that after they saw that.
Dude, that movie started a damn leg warmer craze. Do you remember that?
It did. It did. It did, bro. It did. It did. I remember that.
Everybody was wearing leg warmers.
Oh man. It did. It did. It did. Oh man, I remember that. Aerobics was the thing back then. You remember this thing? The show used to come on like at 6 in the morning called the 30-minute workout or the 20-minute workout.
Or that show that had that woman, Denise, what's her name? The white lady. Denise, was it Denise Matthews or something? She used to be on there with her leotard or unitard and the damn leg warmers.
Yes, yes.
And she be on there, and 2, and 3.
And 3. Yeah, yeah. Yo.
Do you remember that shit, man?
Come on, bro. Come on. Oh, snap. Did you see Fame in the movie theaters? Because there was a TV show spun off of that, and then there was one in the movies. You remember that?
The one in the movies.
The one in the movies, we saw it, and I'm gonna tell you what's crazy. The dude that played Leroy, he was in the film, and he was also in, I believe he was in the television series. He had cornrows, brown skinned dude, and he danced. And in the movie, there was a scene where somebody pissed him off, and he starts doing this weird ballet, but he starts grabbing his genitalia, and the teacher was like, "Stop! Stop! 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 What the hell?" Well, he lived in New York. I think he lived. If he didn't live in the Bronx, he lived in Harlem, and I think he passed. But the last thing we saw him in was in Eddie, the movie, when Whoopi Goldberg played the head coach of the New York Knicks. They could have used her this season, but whatever. I think he passed, but he was a notorious broken wrist.
He passed. I heard about that.
Yeah, he was a cop friend of my dad's responded to a domestic dispute with him and his boyfriend. He called my pops on the phone, was like, "You ain't gonna believe this ish." It was crazy. But yeah, he had died. But we used to see him around the neighborhood a lot. And after a while, we was like,
yeah, he died from them complications too.
He did. But yeah, Fame the movie. I wanna live forever. But all of those things, the reason why I'm bringing that up, all of those dancing and entertainer, all of that stuff, that's Saturday Night Fever. Everything spun off from that. He set a craze that lasted for about a
decade.
A decade, yeah. About a good decade. This was the root of all of it right here. Matter of fact, I'm gonna find it tonight and watch it. Well, I gotta get up early, but I'm gonna watch it. But this is a part of American film right here. Dag, I want to play that scene so bad. The ending when they were dancing. I wanted to play it, man. But YouTube be on some crap, man.
I would have loved to play this that scene where what we got playing in the backdrop right here, this little motion thing, because boy, that boy burned it up on that, man. He burned it up on that solo dance. I was like, man.
You know what else I appreciate about these films? They did touch on the racial aspect of this, but everybody, especially a New Yorker, everybody was able to go and enjoy this film for what it was.
Right.
Nobody felt, oh man, this is an Italian film, I ain't gonna watch this. No, just like when we did the show about Greece, everybody went to go watch that. Everybody. You know what I mean? It was something for everybody to enjoy. Because there was something relatable in this film. If you was a New Yorker, you could relate to this. But round the world, even if you wasn't from New York, you saw this in it was the culture for its time. And you appreciated it for what it was. You know what I'm saying? You know, it was.
And Greece came after this because, you know, this was first. And again, they put Travolta in dance routines in Greece because people wanted to see him dance again. You know?
Yeah. So this is what launched his movie career. This right here, this is what did it, man. But if y'all look back, like Stormy said, he was on Welcome Back, Kotter, and he was a different guy. Totally different guy there.
And his character on Welcome Back, Kotter, he was actually the most popular dude on the show because he played that character so well, man.
Yeah.
You remember the episode when they were like trying to help get that one dude off of drugs? And then they were telling like Freddie and Arnold and all of them, they Mr. Carter was saying, you guys gotta act like you're act like you're really in trouble, like you can't shake the drug habit and stuff like that. And Vinny was walking around talking about, give me drugs, give me drugs, give me drugs. And that one time when they were gonna get into the alley fight with that gang, and Mr. Carter came like he was the leader of their gang. It was like, but it was his kids from his class. And it was like Vinny and Freddie and Arnold and all of them. And they had leather jackets on and stuff. And the guy was like standing across from Vinny. He was like, so who's the leader? And Vinny was like, me. And he was like, you? And then he walked over, he's like, get over here. And Vinny walks over there, he puts his thumbs in his pockets with his fingers out, and he started bobbing his head like that. And dude was like, what is that, a disease? Do you remember that?
I do. When you put the head, he was like,
yeah, he was like, bobbing his head.
A disease. Oh man, those sitcoms was different, man.
Welcome Back, Kotter. That was a great show, man.
Those sitcoms was different, boy. Oh man, that's funny.
Some of the stuff that they would write, you know, in there, it's like you couldn't get away with some of that stuff today, but back then, man, America was a different place, man. It really was.
Yeah, we weren't so sensitive. There were some things that we do today that's taboo. Just a quick story. I remember there used to be a sitcom in the early 90s, and the premise was a dude hit the lotto, but he also won his own daytime talk show, and he filmed it in his house. And he would get out of bed and have his breakfast, and there'd be people sitting in his living room. He said, oh, okay, I guess I got to do the show. And I don't remember the name of it. It was short-lived. But he had this old couple on there, and the dude was hard of hearing. So he was just sitting there with his bugged out look for the whole show. And he was talking about, he said, yeah, you know, the dude, he would say something every now and again. He'd say, are we on TV? He said, yeah. And his wife said, yeah, you know, he has a little bit of dementia. He's gonna repeat himself. He said, what are these people here? We on TV or something? She's like, yes, honey. The TV's different. So then he was talking about, there's just certain things we could say on TV that we couldn't say 10 years ago. So dude was sitting there, and he says, hey, Harry, is it true you can say tit on TV? I was like, yo, what? It was stupid, but I thought about it. The first time I heard bitch on TV, I looked around like, Can you say that? Yeah. And I think it was what was it? NYPD Blue is when I first heard it.
Yeah.
You can say bitch on TV now. So there's certain you can call someone a dick, and it's becoming normalized now. You see what I'm saying? Everything's becoming normalized. So certain things that they do back then, you would never get away with now. Like Revenge of the Nerds, they don't even play that on any cable network. You have to have it on Blu-ray or the first movie, because now they made like 12 of them. The first Revenge of the Nerds. Okay, Porky's. You don't see that anymore.
Well, going back to the shows all the way through the 60s, when they showed married couples, they always had twin beds.
That's right.
Twin beds. They never showed, the male actor and actress in the bed together. They would be in separate beds.
Yep.
And
the Flintstones.
I forget what show was the original show that allowed a man and a woman to be in the bed together. I would have to Google that. But it was something that, because when you start having those kind of situations, you take one more step, you take another step, and you take, and that's what happened through culture. But I actually prefer how it used to be, because there was still enough of context and story that to have inference was okay. Inference, you didn't always have to see everything. Do you know that that's what made the murking scene from the movie what's it the Hitchcock film? What's that when old girl Janet Leigh in the shower when it was
Psycho.
Yeah. When that scene, the curtain being drawn back, the shadowy figure holding up the weapon like this, and her in the shower going, ah, and it's like you just saw blood running down the drain, which was, the movie was in black and white, so it just looked like dark running down the drain with the water from the shower, but you never saw the violence. You just it appeared like it was violent, but you never really saw it. And that somebody got murked, but it's like it wasn't shown to you. That way of editing and storytelling, and you and I, we kind of touched on this in past shows talking about it. A lot of times when you leave it to the mind to have an inference of what happened, sometimes what you might conjure up in your mind and what I conjure up in my mind might be different things, but they can still be what is fearful to us, as individuals, which is why scary scenes like that would affect people in different ways. Like when The Exorcist came out, and Linda Blair's character, when she started acting out and talking with that deep voice and being possessed and all of that, it freaked people out. And when she was taking that cross and stabbing herself in her private area, and when she sat on the bed and her head did the 360,
bro,
dude, there was people running out of the theater screaming and throwing up and everything when that happened,
bro. We did a show on epic fright moment. Did we do a show on frightening moments in movie history?
Something like that. Yeah, we did touch on something, because I remember us talking about it.
Do you remember the phenomenon behind Scanners when Scanners came out?
Yeah.
80s? Jesus Christ. I wanted to go see it, and my uncle was like, no, you don't. I said, no, I want to go see. He said, no, I'm not taking you. He said, no, because, you get scared and you be in one of our beds. No. I was still young. Yeah. When the Scanners come out, 81, 82, something like that. I was something still like
that, yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I want to see it. Nope. He said, I ain't taking you to see that. I remember the commercials for that. They showing people in the theater breathing heavy and stuff. I'm like, what's going on in this movie? I saw it years later. By the time I saw it, I was already desensitized to everything. I said, oh, they're staring at people. They have mental powers and they're blowing their heads up. But back then, that was like, what am I looking at?
That's like the Blair Witch Project. Do you know what was like the novelty about the Blair Witch Project?
That it was done with a camcorder?
Right. But the whole idea of that first person camcorder, shaky cam image,
yeah,
it made a lot of people dizzy. It made a lot of people nauseous. It made a lot of people feel uneasy and everything. And it's funny because remember, we're talking about the impact of how something is inferred.
Yeah.
You could get on the boat and maybe have good legs, but somebody else will have like a sailor's or a shipper's legs that they get seasick and everything just from a couple of rough waves. You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's the same with flying in a plane or whatever. Some people might get sick and air sick. You know, it's like it happens. You get people who be on a roller coaster and they can ride and they can go down those deep descents and go on those high up climbs, and people be like, yeah, and then other people be like throwing up. You know what I'm saying?
I can't do it anymore. I can't do that no more. I used to love that stuff. I took the kids to Six Flags about a couple of summers ago, and I rode the Green Lantern roller coaster. I said, hey, this ain't nothing. Stormy, that knocked me down for the rest of the day. Rest of the day, I said, nah, y'all go ahead. I just walk with them. So y'all go ahead, I'll be right here. And I figured out, I'm like, oh man, I feel like how my dad used to feel. Y'all go ahead, I'll be right here. I'm like, oh man, it's horrible. There was a ride, a great adventure out here called Lightning Loops. Used to love it. Not anymore. Lightning loop your ass away from me. Crazy. I don't do roller coasters. That used to be the thing.
Yeah, man.
Powerful stuff, man. Powerful stuff.
So what would you say was the most influential element of this particular film to you?
Influential to me? I always liked to dance. My mother at one point was an Eastern Star. And she hung around a bunch of Masons and everything else. And they had a lot of dances. And everybody brought their kids. And I used to be on the floor that looked just like that. It changed colors. And you know the thing with the knees, you jump down to your knees, you jump up on your feet. That used to be my move. Away with it when I was like 10 years old. I used to do that with my arms just like this. The crowd would go crazy. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I was always trying to do my little John Travolta. You know what I'm saying? So it was dancing part.
Like some of the dances that we came up with, right? It's like the stuff they do today is like nothing. But we used to be so creative as Americans, and I'm not just saying blacks, but Americans, period. There's some of the dances that we came up with, man. Just amazing stuff. It's like, wow.
We trendsetters, man. The assembly line dance. We called it the bus stop, the electric slide, the cha-cha slide.
And I still think one of the most creative was the show that we did on breakdancing and stuff, because that right there, bro, even during this heyday and height, and you know, that's definitely my era too. It's like I couldn't do it. There was brothers that used to get down there, man, and be turning on one wrist, twisting and stuff, feet up in the air, twirling the helicopter and all that. Like, man,
I could pop and lock. I could do the windmill, the backspin. I ain't do it in years, but back flipping, I could do a handspring off the floor today. But I used to back flip, front flip, do the suicides. Handspin, I couldn't hold that, but like I said, I could windmill and backspin. But I had one friend and I swear to God, he should have been on stage. I swear to God, he could moonwalk better than any. He was moonwalking better than Michael Jackson in a pair of shell top Adidas. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. He was nice with it. He could head spin because he was skinny. You know, he could head spin. He could windmill better than everybody, right? I mean, he was popping and locking and breakdancing like they were doing it on TV. We was like, yo, you need to, you know.
And those guys who could do that popping and locking, man, but like when they could like move their head around their shoulders and stuff.
Yeah, he could do that stuff. It was like, damn.
Like, man, how do you do that? It's like your head ain't even attached to your body.
Yeah,
it's like bro, rolling like a ball on a top of a.
It was like
rectangle.
All my whole crew, we had a specialty at one thing. Me and my boy Duane, we could backflip. That was our thing. We just get on, start backflipping and do a split and then do a windmill into a backspin. That was it. And then my other boy, he could hand spin really good. And he would get a good spin and then put the hand like this and start spinning. I couldn't do that. And but my other boy, he did everything. He did everything. We say, man, you need to be on. When other people used to come battle us, we were like, yo, just chill for a minute. You're the secret weapon, just chill. And then when he get on the cardboard, he just start doing all this stuff. And then he go down, it was like, oh, shoot. There'd be people coming home from work, stopping and looking at him.
And then looking, the crowd of form.
Yeah, when he got on, yo, it was crazy. Like, man, damn, man, bro, you just, you know, I'd say you missed your calling, but we were kids. We didn't even know how to, we was like, yo, he need to be on TV. He was nice with it, man. He was nice with it. He was better. And we all started doing it at the same time. He was just better than all of us. He couldn't backflip, but it didn't matter. But my gosh, he'd go all the way down on 2 feet and then rise back up. And I'm like, yo, how will you do? But he was very skinny.
And then have a guy that could look like he like moving in slow motion and like,
yes,
just like, you know, remember those old Ray Harryhausen movies like Sinbad and you know all that where they had those animated creatures.
Yes.
Motion animated creatures, and it'd be brothers doing like that. It's like, you know, it's like,
yeah.
You be like, man, where this dude get all this stuff from, man? It's like crazy.
Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. But we were so creative, man. We're so creative, man. So creative. But again, the dance craze, you know, like things start and then it morphs into other things. But if you look at it, like, where did this come from? When did they start doing this? When did they start doing that? When did they start doing this? When did they start doing that? The dance craze came from Dance Fever. The craze on film, it came from Dance Fever, the craze. Now, of course, there were other things that came, like I said, when things change, we get a hold of things, we turn it around, like the other cultures get a hold of what we do and they turn it around. Like we need to do on show on the breakdance movies, Beat Street and Breaking. They came out around the same thing, and Breaking too. You know, there was a movie called Rapping with Mario Van Peebles. There was Rapping and Beat Street, Breaking 2, and Wild Style. I saw that being filmed. On my cousin's block, I looked out the window. I said, what they doing? He said, oh, they filming a movie. Wild Style. That was the graffiti film.
Yeah, man. All of that stuff was just wow, man. It's like we were that was like literally the second Renaissance, man.
Yeah.
That's what that was, that era. Because born out of all of that were talents like Spike Lee and what's my man name who did the other young black director? What was his name? The kid that did Straight Outta Brooklyn. Remember that?
Oh.
And then you had
that was tragic.
Mario Van Peebles, Robert Townsend.
Yep.
You know, all of that. That was a whole group of young guys you know, that came on the scene that really did some stuff, man.
That ending in Straight Outta Brooklyn was tragic.
Yeah.
That was bad.
The Hudlin brothers, the Hughes brothers.
Hughes brothers, yeah. Yeah.
You know, wow.
Shout out to John Travolta, man. Shout out to John Travolta, man. Yeah, this if y'all never seen Saturday Night Fever, watch it.
Yeah,
watch it, man. Watch it, man. I'm telling you, man. It's a great story, man. It's gonna throw you for a little bit of a loop. You know what I'm saying? But it's a feel good story. The ending is pretty rough, but hey, man, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But, let me cut out early because the family just walked through the door. We go check up on them before I start pep talk, man.
Yeah, man. And thank you so much, man, for doing this show with me because you know, once again, we just come through with what the whole experience is, culture, man. Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely, man. This is a dope ass show. Can't wait to see what we do next week. You know what I mean? A salute to everybody in the chat, man. And y'all take it gently. You know what I'm saying? I'll be over there on Pep Talk. I got a lot to say. And I'll see you on the chat, man. Salute, Stormy.
All right, salute to you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, guys, we're coming to the end of another Nerds show where we featured the phenomena that was Saturday Night Fever. Yeah, from 1977, a Paramount Pictures release that had John Travolta in his breakout role. Yeah, man, just an amazing experience there. It was a great time to be alive, to be able to enjoy and take in the aspects of what was offered with Saturday Night Fever. So with that, we're going to get ready to head up out of here, but not before paying the bills, because we have some commercials that we're going to take a moment out for. We're going to hear from some of the regulars, huh? Yeah.
We offer the best grooming products for you. Yes, all natural and handcrafted too. We wanna help be your swagger, style, class, and luxury. We make our products tailor-made for you with high quality. Yeah, so get in style with the Black, yeah. Grooming company, to give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah. The Black Gentleman, yeah. Company, to give you swagger, style, class, and luxury. In luxury, yeah.
Located at www.theblackgent.com.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to get ready to head out. For those of you that want to stay online, take your positive energy over to Pep Talk with Drew for his evening show. And we're going to get ready to get on out of here. I want to say thank you once again for everybody that came out and supported the show. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. And we will catch you guys on the next one for another Nerds. Yeah.